Hey everybody, a very good afternoon. Welcome back to our third and final hour of the day of this brand new launch from Carnation Crafts. And what a day it's been, what a launch it's been. Just to give you an idea of how busy it's been for this, 65% of the entire collection has gone, and we're only on show 3. 45% of our nested dies that we're going to show you in a second has gone as well. There they are on the screen if you want those. So it's been a very, very popular collection. There's supposed to be 2 more shows tomorrow at 1 and 3, but it all depends on the stock, I suppose. Now, what we've got here for you, why it's been so popular, is this is like a window on an idyllic part of the country or an idyllic place. You've got your gorgeous cottages, you've got the wonderful kind of semi-detached houses full of character, you've got the rolling hills and the landscape, you've got cute characters, you've got the church there of course as well, you've got the bench which is incredibly symbolic and meaningful to so many people. You've even got little characters like little birds and little squirrels too that can be part of the picture. And again, it's your opportunity to tell a story. The focal point of any Carnation Craft collection has to be the card shape, and this is your into the scene card shape, which is spectacular. But what it gives you is like a rounded rectangular frame. If I just show you a couple of pictures here to show you a couple of cards that paint the picture. Pam Simpson has done this one with the church in the centre of it, but this is your outside frame. And you get multiple different sizes of these, so you can do loads and loads of different mats and layers. You can make them incredibly deep, and of course the deeper the frame goes, the more of that world you seem to be kind of focusing on. It frames the world beautifully, and you can really kind of lose yourself in it. There's that idyllic cottage with the rolling hills behind. Carnation at its best, absolutely Carnation at its best. This is the church again, this time using the nesting dies that we'll talk about a bit later on. But look how gorgeous that is. Now this is also a collection that's got a bit of a secret, well not a secret, but it's got a little bit of a surprise, because included in the main die or the main card shape, you've actually got a mechanism which allows you to make the front of the card pop up to give yourself even more dimension. So you just pull the arrow, that then in this instance is making the bench kind of very much more pronounced, and you can put that pop-up mechanism literally on anything, not just from this collection but from previous collections as well. I mean, all of these finished samples I've got here, the design team have obviously had an absolute blast and a ball using these. This is another one using the pop-up. Pam Simpson has done this one. As you can see, the actual sign there that says the 60s Club, you're actually going to be getting the 20s Club, 30s Club, 40s Club, right the way up to the 100s, so you can personalise it for someone's milestone birthday or the decade that they happen to be in, or you get the plain one and you can personalise it with whatever you wish. So it could be welcome to a place, or welcome to your new home, or welcome to whatever. It's entirely up to you. The artwork is amazing. The vignettes, which is what we call the artwork at Carnation, is free for you to print off right now. Now, I know so many of you have been in touch on Facebook and also on YouTube today to say that you've placed your order. As soon as your order is placed, the team back at Carnation HQ pick, pack and post straight away. Lots of you will get these tomorrow, if not tomorrow the next day. And we did have a lovely message actually from a gentleman called Mark in the last show, that he lives in Philadelphia, and he was just praising the delivery teams, saying that he gets his within 5 days sometimes, which is pretty amazing, from the UK to America. And we'd love you to share with us, if you're watching us and you shop with us abroad, wherever it may be, let us know roughly how long it takes for your order, once you've placed it, to arrive at your home, whether you're in the States, whether you're in Europe or wherever. We'd love to get those sort of comments. So leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube. We'd love to hear from you about that.
I'd like to hear from Donna in Australia.
Donna in Australia. You're a regular, evidently, Donna. So yeah, how long does it take to get your Carnation? I don't know what part of Australia you're in, but how long does it take to get from us here in the UK to you there in Australia? Message in via YouTube or Facebook, and we just want to know. We're intrigued and interested. So that's the main collection, which 65% of stock has gone. Vignettes you can download and print off right now instantly from the Carnation Crafts website, which is carnationcrafts.co.uk. Go to downloads, free downloads, and then you'll see the artwork there, and you can print that off as many times as you want, together with the inserts and the background papers as well. A couple of other things to mention, then we'll start to go through the boards. The perfect papers, the Stay a While perfect papers, I've left this card deliberately there for you, just to show you how the colours work so well with the artwork. Obviously here you can see that the frame, the main frame, has been used with the perfect papers. You've got patterned perfect papers and plain perfect papers in the collection, and all these beautiful pastel colourways, the pinks, the greens, the darker greens, the kind of off-white cream in there as well, just works so beautifully well with that. And your perfect papers are only $14.99. So, you know, as you're getting a great deal with the die collection today, saving so much, maybe treat yourself to those at the same time. It will work with the artwork brilliantly. brilliantly. And just to give you a heads up about the price, at the moment, this is exclusive to us at Carnation Crafts TV, okay? You can't find this anywhere else until later in the week. And you're getting it at the best price. It's £109.99. Later in the week, if there's any available, it will go up to £134.99. And you can pay, as it's over £50, you can pay no P&P at all. And you can also pay on ClearPay or PayPal Pay in 3 if you want to spread the cost. I'll come on to the nesting dies though after we've gone through the boards. Carla is here, Taz is here, we're all here. Message in, say hi on Facebook or YouTube. Love to hear from you.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
It's been quite the break. I was helping lift a 2-ton machine. I'm somewhat glistening. I apologise in advance. Right, we're going to have a look at that gorgeous Into the Scene card shape. Why Into the Scene? Why is scene building important in your card making? We talk about grounding devices all the time, don't we? We talk about those things that make the card have some kind of hit with the recipient, as in they're going to look at it and they're going to feel something about it. If you're going to take the time to make those cards, you want your recipient to feel it when they get it, and that's what we do at Carnation. It's what we do best, and we've always done it. This takes it just that little bit further into the scene, because we're building those countryside scenes where we might sit and wait and watch the world go by and listen to the birds, and there's peace and rest, and that's what we need. So we have an Into the Scene card shape. Into the scene because we're building apertures. Apertures being one of the hardest things to do in card making, and so Nick and his team of artists take that headache away from us. Okay, here's your aperture, done. You don't need to worry about it. Here's your aperture. So we've got it already in place. You've got your card base, your mats and layer. Then we've got that lifted aperture with the slot down the side of it. So it's like almost like a pair of legs, if you like, coming down. Once you've got that seated, you've then got more elements to that aperture. So we're building up and we're building up and we're building up. What that gives us is that sort of telescopic look into the card shape, into the scene that you build.
It takes you in, doesn't it? It draws you in.
It takes you in. So you're walking into that scene. How do we take that further? Because we can use apertures, how do we make it even more so? Well, we build in a pop-up mechanism that takes the dimension forward and allows you to just wander into that scene. There's more dimension. The more dimension you place on a card, the more that scene has gravity, it has a belief behind it, and you literally give your recipient a feeling, a sense of belonging in that card. And literally that's what we're doing. And so you win every time, right? And that's why the Into the Scene card shape is so important. Not just because of those elements though. It is extraordinary. The inside panel, this piece here. Do you want to build apertures with this? Layered apertures, thank you very much, because I've got little points that I can cut. So if I had 2 of these sitting on top of each other, and I could just cutting away those pips, I'd have a white outline around the outside. Or I could cut into them and I can have that outline there. So just simply by using, say, take this panel away, using those outside bits, I could get more apertures using the outside edge. So I've got more and more scope. But what if I was to turn this upside down and go, well, hang on a minute, I've got an extra card shape here.
Like that one.
Like this one. How does that work? Well, it works like this.
Isn't that gorgeous?
So we've moved, haven't we? We haven't just got the card shape. Because a lot of companies will give you a card base and go, look at this beautiful card base. Thank you very much. Carnation aren't interested in giving you the ordinary.
Do you know what? That shape could be a gazebo, or it could
beautiful.
be a marquee.
And look how the wee roses just festoon it out. Because with most of Carnation's card shapes, you're going to get those at least two options. This, even more so, you can make easels from this. Of course you can. That pop-up mechanism, taking it that bit further for that push up. And then we'll also give you something which I've never seen before, which are layered corners. Do you have to layer them? No, of course you don't. Use them individually. If you're making a tiny little card, you might just want the tiny little florals. But if you start layering these up, we're talking about into the scene. You're going into it. We're giving you the apertures to allow you to view inside, then the layered corners. So the bottom part, if you layer those corners, you are literally taking the depth of that card to a more extreme level. There is a walking point into the card in your imagination.
Carl, I've got to show you this.
There you go.
Look at this. I've not seen this card until now.
Sorry, Taz.
Janine has done this one, but look at those florals, layered one on top of the other.
Layer upon layer upon layer, that vivid reality that you're walking into. The church at the back there, how is it being done? Well, there's my finger. Because we're just using the apertures. That's your main card base.
Isn't that
Can
gorgeous?
you see the aperture used? All of these different points that you've got. All of these different options that you've got to create. Put some acetate on the front of this piece and use the acetate to stick things onto on the front to give illusion, and then something on the back to give depth. Because everything about this is walking into the scene. Look at that dimension on here. And then an extra one just placed in the back corner, so no matter which angle you've got it on.
Shouldn't have favourites, but I think that's one of my favourites of the show.
Stunning, stunning, stunning. Yeah. You see the little walkway? Can you just see the walkway here? And then the little fields at the side that give you that sense of walking in, because we're into the scene. That's why it's called the Into the Scene card shape. There's so many possibilities with this. It's one of the most powerful card shapes I've seen in the industry since I began. Genuinely. There's so much scope with this. It's infinite. And that's why I love it. I want to be able to create, and then the next card I make, I want it completely different. Thank you very much, I can do that. So all of these elements coming through, plus these beautiful extras that you get where you're building again and building. Let's go into the rest of this then. Let's have a look at what else we get. You've got your village bounds here, which are your wall. It's your little wall. You've got, again, height, depth, perspective. Always going to have that with Carnation, by the way. So imagine that this sort of seats in front of here. You'd have the idea of the walls going back. You can create a pathway. You've got your fence posts, and then you've got the extra fence posts that you can build further along if you want to. You can cut into these because each one's individual. You've got welcome to. We saw them, didn't we? These will print on your artwork. If you want your artwork, please do go to the Carnation Crafts website. It's www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Head over to downloads, which is a tab at the top of the website. Free downloads, and when you click into that, I would imagine that the ones for this collection will be at the top because they always put the most recent there. You want to have a look for the Stay a While complete vignette download collection, and it will be there for you, and what's more, it will be free. We're not going to charge you for that.
No.
We'll also give you free backing papers, we'll give you free inserts. Everything you need to get going to make the most extraordinary cards of your life. Let's do this thing. We've got it.
There's no limit to how many you print off.
Nope. You can just print and print, and you can sell them. You can sell the cards. You've got to cut them. It's not a case of just downloading that and fussy cutting. You've got to cut them. That's the only fair way, and I think that's more than generous from Carnation, because this is hand-drawn artwork. We don't give you stock images. We give you hand-drawn. Hand-drawn every time.
You know, as a Carnation customer, where the artwork has come from. Nick and his team, basically. So you've got that pedigree that you know is there, rather than buying something, you've got no idea who's done it. You know who's done it.
We know who's done it. So that's all we ask. You cut it with the dies, you go for it. So you've got all of these extra elements. So you can see all of these here with those labels on. That will be on your artwork, on your vignettes. But on your artwork as well will be welcome to, and you can stamp on these and layer them up and build whatever you want so that you can put your own sentiment on. If you don't want it to say welcome to, get rid of it. Just use this one. Options, 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 options. When you're buying craft items, buy versatile craft items. Trust the people who give you sort of the most scope. They're the ones that are trying to take you further, right? They're the ones that are trying to think of the customer. And that's what we've got. That's why it's so important. We've got those big hedgelines. We've got small ones. We're creating an absolute vista in front of us, aren't we? It's just a wonderful thing to have. It's such a powerful, powerful collection. I'm so excited by it. When I started demoing with it, I was just like, this is really exciting. I knew as soon as I saw it. We looked at this in the last show. Please do go back if you want to see it, but there's more than one way to use this. We looked at it earlier as a 3D piece. You have also got cut lines to create and change these. I might just want a small townhouse in the back, and that is my choice. I might just want a larger one, and that is my choice. Or I might want a little scene where I've got a few bits, a little garage in front. That's my choice. Or I might want to use it all if I'm using a DL. My choice. I've got the beautiful little cottage here. Remember the little hedge? And if I want to add it in with that countryside walk, there it is. And I can build these. I've got mirrored vignettes, so I can change how deep that is and how the vista looks as I'm looking at it. And then this lovely piece here, which can either be used as a hill at the front or a little piece of grass, or you can decoupage up with it here.
And not only have you got the faded, the kind of faint print, you've also got a very...
The darker ones.
Yeah, the darker one too.
I
so
forgot about that.
That can give you the impression of houses being closer and further away.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get the idea of perspective, because if you use one that's got a darker colour at the front, when you've got something faded out, so if you look at that and it's faded out, the minute I add something that's vibrant, you'll see it sort of pops against it. This will fade back into the background, so the idea being that it's further away. You see those hazy horizons, don't you? I know we've had that collection, but you see those hazy horizons and they look beautiful in the kind of, it's almost a mist, isn't it? And there's very, very bright pops at the front. I am hot and I am not even ashamed to say it. Then we have got your beautiful church walk. We're going to look at the church today. It's the one thing we haven't looked at, so I'll do that in the next demo for you. I want you to see the church because I think it's absolutely extraordinary and I love it, love it, love it. Mainly because we're always going to look for a showstopper. A showstopper is something that when you see it in its full force and you don't really need much else on a card, that will talk to you. You've got the little walkway up to it. We've seen it with the little countryside hills at the side that Janine had in her card. More importantly, you've got a matte layer for it, and it sometimes that will be all you need. So that on its matte layer made into a card, so you'd cut that twice, score it along the steeple here and just place that on. Maybe a sentiment, maybe one of those tiny little corners just here. That's a card, and sometimes it's all we need to say. So that's going to be an important one for your church walk. But
my favourite tree, love it.
Verdant canopy, scrumptious, isn't it? That has got all of the wow factor, the artwork. When we talk about hand-drawn art, look at the shading. This is not done by accident. It's got the sense of being shaded, hasn't it? And that's what we look for maybe on very hot days when we are sitting on a bench. You've got the canopy going over, two together, flip one so they meet, so you've got that kind of love heart shape.
Yeah.
Or so you've got a full archway. Either way, you've got both going on. The trunk's interesting, isn't it? Because when I first saw this, I was like, why? Why does my trunk come away from the top? Because I can play with it in different ways. I can have this high up. I can have it low down. I can tuck this behind or in front of the main trunk at the bottom. I can get rid of that altogether and just tuck that in. Or I can build scenes. Taz, I'm going to tax your brain here and I don't think you'll remember. No, hold on, it's coming to me. Wandering in Nature. No, the one with the owl, the stag.
Nature in Motion.
Nature in Motion. I knew it had nature.
Hey, that's
Nature
fantastic.
in Motion. Well done, Taz. Where it's got the chopped down tree trunk. Can you remember that with the florals going around it? Add this in. Suddenly you're creating a very kind of mystical scene. Then add in Pure Enchantment. Suddenly we've got a whole different thing, haven't we, from using this collection? Because we want options. You've got the swing that hangs from that tree, those gorgeous birdhouses and the little bird feeder, which I love, because again, I love feeding the birds and watching them in a morning. And this one, which I think is very, very important.
And benches are so important to so many people.
I just think it's really symbolic, this one. I think a bench, like I say to a lot of us, maybe it's just because it hits with me because we did this for a friend of mine. But that idea of having those benches that are very symbolic or just a place to stay. They're a safe spot, aren't they, where we just rest and we have peace.
And they're normally placed in the most idyllic beauty spot, aren't
they?
Yeah.
And often in church gardens or often in town centres, those sort of things where it's, you know, maybe more prominent. And that's, we've got that, haven't we? We've got the town scope, or scape, sorry. And then we have got also your village scape, those quiet types. So we've got both. And so it doesn't matter. We've got a little picnic blanket here. We've got your grass going along. We've got the little wee birdies. Remember that tree? So they sit in there. You've got the two squirrels, very busy stealing your pack up. A little bouquet of flowers, which maybe have been left, maybe as a symbolic piece, or maybe for a date. Maybe somebody's been stood up. We don't know. You can make the stories up. You've got a flask of tea, hopefully. You've got a little, it could be either be sandwiches, all tied up in greaseproof paper, which I love. There's something romantic, it's like the railway children, or it could just be a little present for somebody. You've got the packed lunch little case, and the apple can be apples for an apple tree. There's nothing lacking in Stay a While. There is nothing here that will not take your journey further and further and further. So it's exciting because it explores your ability and it explores your imagination. And when a collection prompts you to do that, you get so much from it. So that is Stay a While.
Big shout out to all of you on Facebook and YouTube as well. Karen, hello to you. Hi everyone, ready for more inspiration? Yep, demo's coming. Suzanne Page, hi Carla, Dave and Miss Taz. All the Carnation Army out there, just sorted out my coloured artwork into folders, ready to craft, can't wait. So obviously Suzanne has downloaded the vignettes, having placed her order for the dies, and you can do the same if you want to. Linda McLeod says, good afternoon lovely people. Like your Carnation colour shirt, Dave? Oh, of course, didn't even realise.
Dave, look at you.
Yeah.
You totally meant to do that.
Of course I did.
Dave, I'm going to embroider that.
What, with Carnation on the back?
No, on the front.
Okay, I don't mind, whatever.
Otherwise you look like a T-bird if I do it on the back.
True. What else have we got? Oh, now Jane is one happy lady. Jane Latos. My husband has just given me a pile of print work. I can't believe he's bought the full collection for me and the nesting dies as well. And then Becky Hummel says my husband bought mine for me too. Yay!
You two have both got keepers. Keep those humans. They're good humans.
Absolutely.
We like them apples.
Now, we were talking about the nesting dies. So many of you have bought the two together because they do work together so well. I'll show you some finished cards with them in a minute. But these are gorgeous. I mean, nesting dies normally, they're fairly kind of run-of-the-mill. These are far from that. These have got the most beautiful decorative edges on them, the petals and the paper. And 45% of these have gone since our first show this morning. You've got your rectangles, you've got your circles, you've got your upside-down DL, sorry. You've got your petals and your ovals as well. You've got your diamonds. And you've got your squares as well. There we go. So you get all of those, all 2, 4, 6 sets of them. And remember, each of these has actually got 2 dies to it. So there's actually, although it looks like there's 6 there, like I said at the beginning of the first show, there's actually 12 dies in each packet. But it's all in the display, isn't it? Let's face it.
I mean, so long as it looks nice, Dave. Dave.
Okay.
Oh, Dave. Okay.
That's fine.
Oh, you got there in the end. It's like a backwards Rubik's Cube, but it'll be fine.
It's $139.99. That sums me up, a backwards Rubik's Cube. 240813 is your item number. You can get all of those, and they are very, very popular. 45%, nearly half stock gone now in just this, the 3rd show. So if you want those, they work together with the collection so beautifully well. Let me show you these, because this one has been done by Barbara in our design team. Stunning. You don't need much on there.
I love that.
Isn't that gorgeous? Very simple DL shape, which is, I know, Carla's favourite. Let me just...
It is.
Knocking everything over now.
Incredible work from Barbara there as well. I'll bring it in front of me so you can see it while Dave just fixes what is broken. I'll just bring it here. You want me to do it on the overhead? Sorry, Taz. Look at that. Incredible talent from Barbara there. Just beautiful, isn't it? Simple. Really simple. And the joy of this collection is, do you want to go with the church and that tree and the pop-up mechanism? Do you want some roses and some birds?
Well,
go both ways.
Sometimes the simplest cards are the most effective.
Absolutely.
If you look at this one, this is also from Barbara, done in a landscape, but using those floral corners, absolutely stunning. And again, totally different, but look. So think about those perfect papers because you'll have the perfect colours to go with the artwork. Fiona Abbott has done this one. That could be a wedding invitation, it could be a sympathy card, it could be a congratulations card, it could be everything that you want it to be. And this is a mixture of the two. That card does not, that die set does not want to stand up. There's Pam Simpson's, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? That's using the circular nesting dies with the church in the centre and the flowers in the top and the bottom corner. Just so gorgeous.
It becomes lace. Those nesting dies, they become lace.
They do. Absolutely. And these are the boards to show you exactly what you're going to be getting.
Yeah, I'll be quick as I'm going through them, and we have had a really deep dive into these over the last 2 shows, so I won't be too long with them, but I do just want to talk about how extraordinarily beautiful they are. The detail that we're getting here, where you're getting the embossed line all the way around each of these pattern dies. Then you get a secondary die that gives you this rounded edge. You can see that in the purple coming through, and that's a separate die, so a separate shape. So your mats and layers are responsive to the piece on the outside instead of going to you know, exact repetition, because we could have had one that's the same size as this, but it would interfere. And the problem if we'd have done it exactly the same, can you see here, this one, it does poke straight to this point. This one goes to here, right? This one slightly further along, this one a bit further. So if Nick had just gone incrementally without using those inside panels, it would have been quite as beautiful. Dave.
Yes.
Would you like to go and sit outside for 5 minutes? You're like a small child.
Everything's falling off the counter.
So when my children are here, so you got look at Taz laughing in the background because Dave's just destroying the set as he goes.
If I don't laugh, I'll cry.
Yeah, there's that. So you've got these beautiful ovals. Ovals great, obviously, for easel cards, twisted easels. Also great for if you take this one and you fold it in half and have another one that goes over the edge in a smaller panel. They look extraordinarily pretty. So work with your ovals. They're a beautiful set. Your rectangles possibly going to be your most used. It depends what sort of card making you use. But again, options. Are you going to make small little cards? Are you going to make tags for Christmas presents? Because they do have that nice little sort of crystallized edge on them almost, don't they? So you could get away with that nicely without anybody batting an eye. So many options for you there. You've got your your papers and petals and papers rectangle. They've used in thicker boards. It feels like I've got two together. You've got your circle here, which is so pretty. That is just stunning, isn't it? Really, it's almost hypnotic. It's so beautiful. And I love this panel in the center for stamping on. Just imagine can you remember Carnation? I've got some stamps that have just got bees on them.
Yep.
They're really beautiful, the little honeybees. Do you not think just seated inside there, one of the honeybees would just be so beautiful because it's such a gorgeous stamp. Then you've got your DLs, your petal and papers DL. My favourite. I love a DL.
What is it about DL you like so much then?
It's the grace of it. It's the length that gives you that kind of drop that goes from the top to the bottom. The thing for me with a DL, I'll be very brief about this, but the reason I love a DL so much is when we talk about telling a story with a card, a DL has got such a long way to go from the top of the card to the bottom, and you've got to be canny when you're working with them because you're filling at a certain point, and if you put it all at the bottom, if you think of everything falling down, you don't want that to happen. So we're more clever with DLs. We phrase things with DLs in a really nice way, and they're so lovely for apertures. I love a DL aperture, and I think there's something very, very I don't know, just very beautiful about a DL. They're so graceful, aren't they? They are graceful. Yeah. We've also got your diamond. Love these sitting on a DL. I mean, that just sets me off. I think they're great. So that is your petals and papers diamond. The last one we've got to show you, of course, is the square. And again, this will be very, frequently used for you as well because it's one of our most used shapes, isn't it? Squares. We tend to use them a lot in the UK for card making. The other thing I love about nested. We talk a lot about this. In the US, you tend to do smaller cards than we do in the UK. We like a big 8x8 in the UK, not because we're more flamboyant, but because we have postage options, whereas in the US, I know that it's a little bit more constrained because of cost. It is getting that way in the UK, but we do have a little bit more freedom for it. When we buy nested, we've got all the options, haven't we? We can go very small, we can go very large. So for those of you who are buying from us internationally, and I know some of you have today, you've now got loads of options as well.
Yeah.
And that's important. So I love that. We are crafting for everybody. We are inclusive.
Let me just show you this card actually from Fiona, because she's actually combined the nesting dies, the rectangular ones, with the main collection brilliantly. And also the 3D element, the pop-up element is also on this one as well. Pull that back and you can see the actual welcome to the 50s club is then very much more in the foreground. It's projecting out. You can see just how far it reaches forward. But you've also got here the church is actually on a hill behind that run of houses there. So that's the bolder print of the houses as well. There's two prints. There's a really kind of faint print and bolder print to give that impression of distance and depth and so on. But I think that just is a great use of both, and that's why so many of you are going for the nesting dies as well as the main Stay a While collection. And I just wanted to read out this message that's just come in from Natalie Dodds. And maybe this can resonate with you as well. She says, this collection is speaking to me so much at the moment, especially the church and the bench, as I've just lost my dad. Thank you, Carnation, for always giving me relief through crafting. With you, as no one does it quite like Carnation, they're in a league of their own. I mean, that's a special message, isn't it?
It's an incredibly special message, very personal message, and we are very grateful for it, Natalie. Very sorry for your loss because it is horrendous.
Yep.
I know what you mean. That piece that you find in that bench, as I said, is very symbolic to me because I unfortunately lost my friend, my best friend, by unfortunate circumstance a few years ago, and those benches mean everything to me. I know exactly how you feel, the massive sympathy. I know not only from myself, but I know the team at Carnation will be saying the same thing as well. So
yep,
from
absolutely.
all of us, we're sending you nothing more than love, and we're glad that this collection speaks to you in that way. We want those moments, don't we? We want the craft to speak, and that's what we mean. You can say as a customer, this speaks to me. Think what it means to the recipients as well.
I
It's
just
powerful.
I just think this collection resonates with so many people for totally different reasons, and I think that's why it's been so popular and so successful. It may be that it's reminding you of a fantastic holiday from your childhood, or a fantastic holiday last year when you went to somewhere idyllic and somewhere beautiful. Maybe it reminds you when you rented a cottage somewhere that's not yours, but you rented it for a week or a weekend or something. And yet then we've heard about, you know, remembering people with the bench. That could be, of course, a big thing as well. But the church there, that could remind you of the church you got married in. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can connect with and feel very comfortable with in this collection, and I think that's one of the reasons it's been so successful. Most people looking at it go, yeah, I can relate to that. Absolutely.
It's a funny thing, so I'll be very brief with this. I'm just going to make this card base while I'm doing it. So cut twice, scored at 1/2 inch, and I'll shuffle and put the two together. I won't go too far into my culture, but I will say in my culture, you birth a child. So how many of you know this at home? And they call it, or you church a child, sorry, they say. So when you have a newborn baby, the first place you have to take it before you enter it into a house is into a church.
Okay.
And they call it churching a baby. And so it's a lovely thing. It's a really lovely thing. And that's what that reminded me of as soon as I saw it. I was like, that's so lovely. So for me, it brings something different. You know, there's something for everybody, right? Look at these perfect papers.
Beautiful.
Look at that.
I mean, it's lovely that they've introduced pattern to the perfect papers as well. Some of them are plain, some of them are a lighter pattern, and that's the most intense patterned one, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Look at that with these edges. It's so beautiful. Right, let's play. So I've got that. I'm going to pull these down. I'm on a 3mm here, so we'll raise this up slightly. Just pulling through. I've got beautiful guidelines to help me here as well, because where that embosses in, I can see it. Okay, so you've got that. Really pretty. Now I've got this wonderful diamond. Now I can play with shapes all day, and part of why I love nested is this. That gives me scope for variant different things. When you're playing with your diamonds, don't forget there's different ways of using them. So I can raise that completely up into the envelope formation. I can start to play down here with different elements. So I could add in some corners down here and bring in a different scope to it. I'm not going to work with it that high. I am going to bring it down, but don't forget, loads of different ways to play with nesteds, and that's why I love them so much. We're going to do something fairly simple on this card though. Okay. So I'm just going to pull this back and this out.
Linda Poland on YouTube is saying, loving how Carla takes her time to explain everything, and her demos are out of this world. It's great to have her back.
That's so lovely. Thank you. Honestly,
Amelia,
sweats and all.
Amelia, I hope I'm saying your surname correctly. Carol Sack, I think it is. Hi, lovely humans from Carnation Crafts. Just to say that I'm in love with every collection you make. Well done. And Joanne
nice.
Garrett says, hi all, loving this collection. The nesting dies are amazing. Love the matte layers. All the ovals and the rectangles have different dimensions. Indeed, they do.
You would not believe the joy that both myself, Carnation, all of us get when we see the cards that you start making over the next couple of days come into the Carnation Crafters Facebook group. It's such a pleasure, isn't it, when we start seeing them? Yeah. And we always comment. Taz and I are always like, oh, look, 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 look.
People might be able to craft along tomorrow.
Yes.
That's true. Some of you will receive it tomorrow. Come and join me tomorrow if you do get hold of it, so that we can have a look.
Because I was told, I don't know if this is still the case, but I was told that if you get your order in before 2 o'clock, I think the postie picks up at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. You've got half an hour. And listen, there's only 35% left. So that's it. And we should have shows tomorrow. So we should, at this stage, realistically, be less than 50. You're already on the running on the hoof.
People coming home from work tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know. Right, I'm just going to be very, very quick talking about you. When you're working with trees, again, I'm talking specifically about Carnation. When I'm talking about this stuff, remember I'm talking about Carnation. You can't do this with every die cut you get. I've got cut lines. I'm given cut lines by Carnation. This is not something you can do with every die. It's a special thing that we have here. When you're working with a tree, it's a big surface area. I've got cut lines already cut in. Can you see where the little holes are coming through? And you can see the red through on my map. Yep. So I've got you know, options. I could work around the whole thing, which I'm not going to do, but I've got another thing that I can do with trees, and I love this. I'm not going to go too much to town with it, but you see where I've got a little surface area here? I'm going to go round in a spiral on that area. I'm going to go round on this one. I'm going to work round here. I'm just choosing little points, nothing. I'm not I don't know where I'm going. I'm not being particularly selective. Just these little pieces. Remember, I'm using a small ball tool at this point, not a big one. So I'm just going into little places. Take it. It'll already start to bow round. move it round, turn it over, and then go in at different points on the other side. What you'll start to do is get the idea that it's moving, because you're creating sort of dips and domes, and those dips and domes will give it the idea that you've got movement coming through this tree as the wind hits it, maybe. So you get these kind of bulbous points at one side and those in points, so it's this sense of movement. I'm not going to be able to show you it enough, but you can start to see I've got those points. Now I can manipulate that center point where that branch goes round.
So you can put it into any shape you want, really.
Yep.
It stays there.
But now I've got those points. Can you see where I've got a dome here and it's flat here? So I've got those elements and it gives it this beautiful shape. You've got the shade. We know that's going to sit further at the back. So if you're playing with that, make sure you do that from the front and shape it into the shape so that it seats further back. Now that I've got that, I know that I want it to be here. Now, in order to frame out my work, I have got these florals. Again, I can shape up. I'm not going to layer these. I want to keep this card kind of as basic as possible. I want anyone at home to go, well, I can do that. I can do that. So, the joy of Carnation is we can do it. Look at that.
And those floral corners you got in 4 different sizes.
That tree, dude.
I know. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Isn't it amazing?
I think that's my favourite part of the whole collection, the tree.
I couldn't tell you my favourite part. I love loads of it.
I love the idea that you can have the tree pointing both ways, arc thing together. It makes almost like a tree gazebo for you. It looks amazing.
How beautiful is that sweep?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really special and really important. So we're working simply and easily, but we are working effectively. What is it? Work smarter, not harder, they say.
Yep. You got it.
So on the bits that I domed, I'm coming in with some silicone gel glue. I'm being careful to avoid, obviously, the holes in it, but I'm just filling those little voids that I made so that this stands up. It's got that shape and it's got this wonderful feeling of movement to it that I love so much. Okay.
Love it.
So it's just designed to give that sweep. Then I'm going to take these I want flat. I don't want any kind of lift. I will take some silicone gel glue on them, but I don't want to shape them. This is not my focus, nor do I want it to be. So I'm going to take this across. I'm going to sweep it in. Look at that.
Perfect.
So pretty.
It's almost like it's hugging the diamond, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to bring this in at the bottom. And we'll bring this in and just place it over, just like so, okay? That sweep, that beautiful curvature, it keeps the point of my diamond here.
Yeah.
I've got that visual cue. If you want to make sure you keep the visual cue at the other time, make a little pokey in the tree, so move it so you want it. It's up to you. Now, very, very briefly now, this is such a quick demo, but it's such an easy one to copy at home. You take this off and take this off. That. Please, 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 if you're using your church as your showstopper, please put it on some foam. Please, please, please give it depth. I've got 5mm on here. Why? Because I want the shadows.
Yeah.
This is my showstopper.
It makes it more prominent. It makes it stand out more.
I'm not worried about a grounding device because I've framed on my corners, okay? My church is my showstopper. But in order to make it more balanced and to stop that floating quite so much, because we look like the Wizard of Oz right now, I've got this on another 5mm.
So the smallest of the rectangular nesting dies makes a great...
Keep your white space. Love white space. It is your friend.
A great little tag for a sentiment. Beautiful. How gorgeous is that? Stunning, isn't it? Now, the main collection, of course, is called Stay a While. That's what it's all about. And it's all about taking you to that tranquil place, to that place that's special, whether it's the rolling hillside, whether it's a special little cottage, whether it's the bench where you sit and reflect, whether it's the church that you got married in, or whatever it may be. And the whole collection just seems to be connecting to everybody for different reasons. And that's, I suppose, the secret to a good collection, so that it appeals to most people watching. I mean, this one here, for example, in the tree, you know, you can put all sorts in the tree. You can put the swing in the tree. Maybe that's appropriate or not. You can put the birds in the tree. And they've got their eye on that packed picnic down the bottom there, by the looks of it. And this has been done by Sue Dalrymple. Now, using the nesting dies predominantly on this, and just the flowers, Vera Bowes made this one totally different, but using 2 or 3 different sizes of those floral corners on each of the 4 corners is just spectacular. And again, it's got dimension, it's got that curve, it's got that dome. And then of course she selected the 40s club, so someone's 41st for 45th birthday or whatever. So how about that? And this is showing you the tree again, but this time with the swing attached to it. Maybe that takes you back to your childhood, fond memories. But let's not forget, this collection has got a unique part to it. And that is the fact that it's got the 3D mechanism. I say 3D, it's a pop-up mechanism. So it can lie flat, but it can also, with the help of pulling the triangle or pulling the arrow, that then makes the 3D element protrude even more, which gives you even more depth. It drags you into the image and into the scene even more as well. So it is your Stay a While collection, brand new today. This is honestly one of the biggest receptions we've had to a launch in recent months that I can think of. 65% plus of the stock has gone on day 1. And there are 2 more shows tomorrow at different times tomorrow, 1 and 3. Okay, so 1 and 3 tomorrow are the different times for the show with Carla. And it is £109.99. It's also, of course, available on ClearPay and PayPal Pay in 3 if you want to use that to pay interest free. Free P&P because you're spending over £50, and the artwork is free to print off right now, and many of you have. You've told us that you've done it already. Just go to carnationcrafts.co.uk to the downloads, free downloads, and then you'll see the artwork there. And that includes also inserts and background papers that you can print off free as well. There are other colourways there available if you want to purchase those separately, but these are free.
And Suzanne has very kindly just reminded us of the £5 extra
Yes.
colourway that we have
Yes.
going on the
Yeah.
website as well.
Oh,
So
that's
if
cool.
you want the extra colourway, £5 more, totally different colours to this, but the colourway that's supposed to be for this launch and is for this launch is absolutely free. And then don't forget, of course, the nesting dies. These are very popular as well. Last update we had was nearly half stock gone, 45%. So there you've got your rectangles, circles, DL, ovals, diamond shape, and your squares. They're so different and so magical for your frames, your apertures, and of course your card blanks as well. 240813. And the perfect papers, quickly, in a mixture of block colours. That's the slightly lighter pattern, which you can probably see there, and there's a slightly denser pattern as well, so you can probably see the 2 differences there. So you get all of those 48 sheets for just £14.99, 240820. Where's the time going today?
I have no idea, Dave. It's because we're old, I think. Just flashes in the
I'm having fun.
You're not.
Yeah, but it's so quick for me.
Right, let's have a look at another demo. So I'm going to do a slightly longer line demo for this one, but I'm not going to use the pop-up mechanism. I did you look at that in the first show today. Please do refer back to it if you need to. We will be doing a longer look at that pop-up mechanism tomorrow. But I want to then look at a way of using the card without it. We've looked at it with. I want to look at the card shape without it. So we're going to have a look at that. I've got my 2 main pieces cut out side by side here, and I'm just going to push that back towards my body, shuffle the 2, got them together, put it down. Bob's your uncle. Now let's have a look at where we're going, bringing in and introducing the pinks from your perfect papers. So far we've had a look at those warm honey tones and we've looked at the greens. The one thing we haven't done is looked at the pinks. I love flourishes. There's something very beautiful about them, and that perfect paper is so gorgeous. That pattern on it, flourishes are really beautiful, aren't they?
And it's
There's
not too
something
busy,
sweet.
is it? It's quite
Not too busy at all.
Quite a fine flourish.
But it's almost got a semi-paisley pattern on
Yeah.
it. It's really, really pretty. Right, I'm going to take that. Working on 3mm for anybody who's interested.
Don't forget, while you're on the website, search for everything Carnation. There's the ball tools, there's the glue, everyday glue, there's the pin flare for the dimensional glue,
Grab your pin
tiny
flare.
lights. It's all there on the website for you.
Vouchers as well.
Oh, and Carnation gift vouchers. Yeah, if you're not sure what collection to buy somebody, if you want to buy them something, get them a Carnation gift card.
We love, love, love a gift voucher. Right, let's start looking at this card shape and the aperture. When we're talking about apertures, why is it called Into the Scene? We talked about that at the beginning of the show, Into the Scene card shape, and it's because we build that height, don't we? So I've got this seated here. Now, if that was flat down, straight to the panel, and what I mean by that is, if I didn't have any weight to it underneath, any foam tape, and I haven't got the aperture, obviously it's not as thick, so it hasn't got quite the impact. It doesn't have quite the same thing, does it? Lifting it up and creating that shadow,
Big difference.
I'm walking in. there's a movement inside the card. I can see the shadow. It adds something different. So going in with that, we've got that lovely 5mm chunk here. So 3
it's a
on
bit
the
like
base.
seeing a door that's shut and then a door that's open.
Yeah, literally. It has got that element to it, but it gives it a realism. I did watch a whole thing about this the other day. It's very dull. I do tend to fall down these weird rabbit holes, but because I love shadows and I've always loved shadows, right? But it's why they're so important, and literally it's to do with the visual of gravity. And I suddenly was like, oh well, that makes sense. So placing that down. Well, don't look at me like that, Miss Taz.
No, it's every time I come here I learn something new because she's watched
Some weird documentary at midnight.
You're quite a deep character, really, aren't you?
Well, I think I'm quite a boring character and I just watch weird stuff on television. I mean, at the same time, I did watch a whole documentary on how hot dog sausages are made. So let's not get too, you know.
Okay. Maybe that's going a bit too far.
I just fall down weird rabbit holes.
Dave, you get to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't make it sound like I've trapped you in the house like you're a prisoner.
I live here now.
This is my life. Postcards from the edge.
I do get to go home. I am lucky. Yeah.
Not if I keep you in, Dave Bradford.
Lock me in.
Me and Barry Manilow. Right.
That's just in case you're wondering what we're talking about.
No, it's the real Barry Manilow.
That is Carla's new kitten.
You keep telling them that, Dave Bradford. Nobody believes you. Right, I've then got my layering up. I think that is so pretty. Now, I just want to show you it without anything on top of it, and I just want to bring in this element. I'm going to cool my tones, but look at that. Because
Gorgeous.
It suddenly went from being a card base to a photo frame, didn't it? Very quickly.
Yep.
It changed. The minute you bring that in, it changes it. Versatility, versatility, versatility. Please, please, please do yourself a favour when you are buying dies, look for the ones that are versatile. Right, little bits of wet glue here. This one I'm keeping flat, I just want to have that pretty frame round.
I've just heard update on the stock. 70% of the main collection has gone. Your fantastic stay a while. 45%, nearly half the stock gone on the nested dies today. Many of you have bought both together at the same time, so thank you if you've done that. And thank you to all the people that have been buying as gifts. As we've heard on Facebook, quite a few people have been buying them for their other halves or whatever, so real generous.
I think if anybody, I mean, obviously I'm not saying there's a guarantee, but if anybody does come to the website tonight and you find that you've got a sold out message on this collection, or indeed on those nested, please don't panic. There will be a button that says register interest, and Carnation will take those into consideration and make sure that we get some more for you so that you don't miss out. But there will be an extended dispatch on that. You won't get it as quickly as if you're buying it now, obviously. It could be a few weeks down the line. There will be a chance to buy on Hobby Maker as well on Friday, but you might be watching this in a week. It's always best with Carnation to come in as quickly as they launch it, because we sell out of so many things so often, and I see so many disappointed messages. The way to avoid it, obviously, is to jump in there. So now we've created this wonderful frame. We look at the depth and we start to look at where we're going in. What are our values when we're looking at this? What value do I get from it visually? Well, I get shadow, I get depth, and I know I've got a stepward in. Now I could create layers on top of that and build that just as high by cutting these out several times and then just reducing each time with one snip. Raise it up, I would have a lovely chunk on that, wouldn't I? But in this scene I'm going to build in. Now I've got my tree. We're going to look at this tree and look at building those. I've got various different elements that I'm going to bring in as well, and I'm going to look at that church again, but this time using it as a piece inside a scene. This tree is just, I'm smitten with this tree.
I am too. I love the fact you can make it taller or shorter.
And what a clever idea, right?
Really good idea.
So I'm just going to bend around that branch, and I'm not going to bother with the ball tool this time. I've shown you that in the last one and I won't do it again. But you see why a cut line's important? That's why. You see that curve that's going around there?
Yeah.
That is literally a paper sculpture technique. If you want to create a curve on a piece of paper, you score it at an angle like that round, and you are able to just sculpt round it.
It's following the shape of the bark, isn't it? Incredible.
So we don't need to do that because Carnation have taken that headache away from us. But when I start to lift this onto an aperture, if that sits upright, for instance, can you see the depth? If I move this slightly forward, the depth inside that hole that takes me to the white point at the back, those things are what gives us those visual cues. It's the importance of it. I've got my church here. And I'm going to bring this in quite low down, but I want the little point to show. So what I'm going to do is kind of use my little cut lines around my die, around my die cut, to be my grounding device. By which I mean I can put that point there, and I know I've got it straight. That's important. If I want to oppose this so that I've got interest at both sides and my tree is there, I've got a mirrored vignette so I can do it. Praise be to the powers of Carnation, right? Because I'm allowed to change it. Options. It's important. I say these things in my sleep because you can't say it enough though, right?
You wake up saying, because glue's sticky.
Because glue, my friends, is sticky.
Do you have dreams like that?
About glue? Yeah. All this, I dream about weird stuff.
I think we all do that, but
yeah.
Dreams I don't think are supposed to make sense. Mine never do.
No, but not even like that. They're just random. I woke up the other day and my sister was here and I was like, oh my, she woke me up and I was like, no, because the cat wasn't good enough. And she was like, what cat? And I was like, the one that we were trying to put into the competition. And Gemma was like, what competition?
What are you talking about?
But she'd woken me and I was in a really deep sleep. So it doesn't get any more sensible in my head when I'm sleeping either. Let me point that through.
Hi, Samantha Cook. Just popped on to Facebook to say hello.
Hey,
Hiya.
Samantha. Let's take this and rise it up just over that church so that I've got that shade point. Okay, so creating the idea that this scene is rising. If I wanted to, I could put another tree there to give it more depth as well. That's another option for you. I'm going to see this through. I can have a straight tree, or I can choose to have kind of a gnarly tree. Up to me which way I go. There's plenty of options. You see how you get the interest in the trunk that way?
Sandra Kyle says, absolutely loving this collection. Ordered both this morning. Loving the shows
well
too.
done.
All ready to cut colourways when my dies arrive.
I
Nice
know,
one, Sandra.
The excitement, right, of knowing that a lot of you are going to receive this tomorrow. That's just beyond giddy.
And I love the fact that you've got the instant excitement and the gratification of having the artwork that you can physically hold and
Print
see today.
today.
Yeah,
so you
print
get
it.
something at the point of sale, don't you? You
Yeah.
get something immediately at the point of sale. How often does that happen? Very, very rarely, but it is there for you. And again, it's that focus on making sure that you're taken care of as customers so that we can provide you with the best service.
And that's the thing. Carnation has the best customer service I think I've ever come across. So.
I've got my little hedge line. I'm going to start creating a point of kind of hidden interest, and I just brought some extra pieces with you to show my options here. So there's my hedge, and I can create that as a point of interest, or I can create a little wooden fence, and I can do that on opposing sides. Remember, we split the aperture. I can create almost a pathway into there, and then I can add something behind that. So if I'm just visually showing you this. If I take this grass line, actually I'm not going to cut that because I need it in a minute. Think twice, Carla, think twice. So if I put that down, and I cover that aperture point, can you see? I've suddenly created my walkway in. Options, options, options. I obviously need this to go at the bottom of my church, which is why I stopped myself just in time. Snipping that off.
The different scenes you can create with the artwork, it's infinite. You can really go to town and just, before you stick anything, just place it loosely and just see what works and what doesn't, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. And bring in other collections and other artwork from other collections that you've had from Carnation.
Wet glue on either side so I can pin it to add dimension. Silicone gel glue in the middle so I can allow the height to lift and raise. Push it down so it seats forward at the top. That lift. There's something at the other side. There's a path. There's a depth. When you lift it and you push it down at the bottom, raise it at the top, something's behind it. We know it. Visually we can see it. It makes sense to us. So now that I've got that piece done, I want to talk to you about these corners, because I loves them. This one I can pin straight down, and we can choose which way we want the height to be. Where do you want that height line to go? Okay, because it's taller at one side, lower at the other. There is a natural instinct amongst us to have the height at the top. We want to rise up the card. It's not always visually the most impactful. It often can be, but it's not always. So just think in terms of when you're building, how do you want it to build, okay? Sometimes it's wiser to do it in different ways. Now I want to cover up my workings here. I want to have something else, and I can't really do that without interfering with the trunk of the tree and the fact that this is going to go across it, but I can tuck it, and that makes it more exciting for me. So I'm going to keep this exactly as it is, and I'm going to pin it. So I'm going to take my wet glue. Not too much, just enough to pin. I'm going to respect my side pink border there and leave that on display. Pin this down so I know it's held. Okay, I've got that one. Now I'm going to take my tiny little fence post and I'm just going to leave that with some wet glue as well.
Of course, you've got 3 different sizes or 4 different sizes of that floral corner, so if one's a bit too big, you want to make it a bit smaller, you've got the option.
So I've got that, so I've got my walkway in. There's something happening behind the fence, behind the grass line behind it. We raise interest upon interest upon interest. 5mm foam tape.
For shadow.
For shadow, but also to give the illusion that there's something behind it. We're adding that gravity.
That's your next size down.
Shape, because we can. Little amounts of shaping, not the whole thing, little amounts as we go through. There we are. Pull it back on itself. We'll just give it a bit of oomph in.
Look at that. Unbelievable.
Raise your corners. Finally, I'm just going to add a tiny extra piece of interest here. I've got a little piece that's just going to sit on the top, frame out that gate, and then, I promise you I'll let you go. Look at that prettiness. Okay, I've got that seated. Hopefully I've got an adhesion point there. Now I've got a little, just 2 little extra pieces, I promise, or 3, 4, but I haven't shown you the birdhouse.
Now the birdhouse could be in the tree. The actual swing could be hanging from the tree as well if you wanted it to be.
Put a little birdhouse in your soul.
That's a good song.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Right, we can't have a squirrel in the birdhouse because the birds get mad. So he'll have to sit down here. Remember those tiny flecks of interest we try to bring to the card. Okay? Hidden little elements that make our cards stand out from other pieces. Because with the greatest of ease, I now get to tuck in a tiny little squirrel who's just poking his head just between, not the main focus, but you might see him. You might just see him because we have magic, hidden, beautiful storytelling elements that just sit and create that full narrative that we are always going to aim to
stunning,
achieve.
isn't it? Look at the elements, look at the depth and dimension on that card. You can take it that far, you can scale it right back and do minimal cards. It's entirely up to you, and that's the beauty of Carnation. Stay a while is the collection. Nearly, well, it is 70% of the entire stock has gone on day 1. Lots of you watching the live shows and interacting with us. Thank you for that on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Do remember though that you can watch these shows back a bit later, and lots of you do. So overnight tonight, a lot of the stock will probably go. And Carla's going to be back with Taz tomorrow at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, different times to normal with the next 2 shows. Don't forget, of course, your fantastic nested dies that are flying as well, and your perfect papers. They're all on the website, and enjoy the artwork, having a little look at that this afternoon, waiting for your dies to arrive hopefully tomorrow. And if you're watching us abroad again, it will take a few days to get to you, but as we heard from Mark in Philadelphia, he gets his within 5 days, which from the UK to America is pretty amazing. Thank you ever so much for your company. I always love launch day at Carnation. See you soon, Carla.
I love you, Davy B. See you soon.
See you soon, Taz. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next month. But